Hi everyone, welcome back to Dream Chats and Tutorials. I hope you are finding the time and the inclination to start journaling your dreams. Don't be discouraged if you're finding it hard to remember long enough to write down your dream, but don't be surprised either if you find that you're waking up from very vivid dreams and wanting to remember them, to tell somebody to write them down. I have heard from a few people and I will address some comments in a couple of minutes. I just want to review. Last time we talked about the importance of writing down your dream, how to try and remember your dream long enough to write it down, stay in the same position as you woke up. Try not to wake to an alarm. Try and wake up naturally and immediately record what you remember. Even if you only remember the last part, record it first and then work your way backwards. Or maybe you're remembering more than one image or setting or scenario or little conversation, and you would prefer to just dab it all around the paper and draw more of a dream map. So what I want to talk more about today is, okay, we've gotten into the habit of writing down the dream, trying to remember, and maybe still it makes no sense when we look at it, but that's okay. Sometimes, if you wait a couple of weeks, you will get more understanding than if you look at it right away. I've been keeping dream journals for decades, and some interesting things have come to light over the decades. So there may be some surprises in there too. So we've talked about writing it down and remembering it, or remembering it first and writing it down. That's really good. Whether you understand what you've written or not, don't worry about it. The next thing I would encourage you to do is to draw a picture of images from your dream. Now, don't be surprised once you draw these images that they don't look like what you thought they would. And that's not because we're not great artists. This, by the way, is not fine art that we're doing, and we're not trying to make an image that maybe even other people might recognize. It's just a question of trying to recreate a vivid image that you saw in your dream and recreate it on paper. The thing to remember is it probably isn't going to look like what you think you're trying to draw. And that's the magic of it. What's the difference between drawing your dream or writing it down? There is a difference. Of course, once you've recorded your dream, you've done that in a narrative. But drawing the dream, you don't need to draw the whole thing. But if there's an image that really sticks out, it's a good idea to draw it. Certainly it will help you remember whether you're dreaming in color or not, and there may come a time after you've looked over a period of time at a number of your dreams, maybe some colors or some color contrasts or some color combinations or repeats will jump out at you. But the thing to remember is when you're drawing your dream, you can use pencils, pens. Good idea to use markers or crayons, so you have access to color. It's not going to look like what you think you're drawing. You're going to draw something that when you look back at it doesn't look at all like what you thought you were drawing. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that. Some years ago I dreamed of, it was a lengthy dream, but at the end of the dream I realized I needed to draw a table that was round on the left side but conformed to the wall on the right, and the wall was, I didn't know what shape the wall was. And that's kind of a funny thing to say because you would assume that a wall would, when you draw it, would just be a straight line, but this wall was not. But I couldn't define what shape it was, so since I couldn't draw that, I just used my words and wrote conformed over on the side where the table met the wall. Now, then I went on to try and draw some objects that were important in the dream, and they had been on the table, but I didn't know what those objects were. I could not remember what those objects were. Now, if that happens to you, don't give up, because maybe you're not meant to remember specifically what those objects were. Maybe the word play is object or objects itself. And this is what happened to me, because rather than write down something that I would have to make up because I couldn't remember. I wrote the word objects. Now, later when I looked at that image that I had drawn in the context of the rest of the dream, the objects and conformity just jumped out at me, and I knew the dream was about my personal objection to conformity. So that was a huge leap forward for me in understanding what my recent dreams had been trying to tell me. Now, another example, and this time I can show you the image, occurred just this past week. I've had a series of dreams with similar images, but in one, I had dreamed of an airplane. It was red and white, made me think of Canada, and I had seen it take off and then appear to be about to crash, then level out. But in the next scene, which was very vivid just before I woke up and rather frightening, I was on a sidewalk and the plane was barreling towards me. So it was enormous. And basically I was looking at the nose, wasn't looking at the wings, because on the left side of the sidewalk, there was no wing of the plane. I was up against a wall. There again, there's wordplay, up against a wall. Where in my waking life am I up against a wall is something I would want to ask myself after recording this dream. But in any case, as this nose of the plane came toward me, in order to escape it, I simply turned into the wall where there were doors and stepped into a little shop or something. And I woke up and I was safe. Now, it was really important to me to draw that last final image of myself on the sidewalk facing the nose of this very brightly, dramatically colored red and white plane. When I did, I thought, okay, I've got to draw the red. I've got to draw, I guess the cockpit would have windows and the nose would be round. You might not be surprised to see that when I drew it, I was really looking at a face. So obviously there's some imagery in there about facing myself, not to bore you with my personal stuff. But, dreams do come to show us those things about ourselves that we don't really see. Maybe we're suppressing them into our subconscious. We don't want to see them. Or maybe, like in waking life, we can't see our physical back, can we? And yet it's there and it's a part of us. We can't really see our subconscious, but it's there and it's a part of us. And we carry the past with us as well. So you can see where all this symbolism begins to sort of make sense. Now I want to say something else about drawing images in your dream, or even just focusing on a particular symbol that might be in your dream. And that is, just as we can't see our back, we can't see our dark side, we can't see those things about us that for whatever reason we might be suppressing, maybe we're in denial about something. When you begin to ask yourself, what's your personal association with a particular image in a dream, you'll find that you may have a dark spot there. You may have a blind spot. And a lot of members of the groups that I have been part of over the years, we have really enjoyed watching this happen. When we might ask a dreamer, okay, and this literally has happened more than once. Okay, this dream, this key in your dream seemed really important. So tell us what a key is. Now, obviously, we all have a universal association or understanding of what a key is. It's just, there's that universal meaning. However, everyone will have a personal association. So if I was a locksmith, a key would certainly mean something different than to me than it might to someone else who works in creating keys to codes, or keys to a map. Maybe a cartographer would have a different association with the word key. But we would find that sometimes you'd ask this person, well, what is a key? And they might say, oh, it's a key. Oh, a key locks a door. A key locks your car. A key locks your safe. It's something that keeps you from getting into something. It keeps others out of it. And the rest of us, we might be thinking, well, yeah, but a key opens things too. But the dreamer, and this has happened, it's so funny to watch, because when you work in a dream group, you are not supposed, you're supposed to elicit from the person who's telling their dream their understanding. And we're not to jump in with, oh, don't you realize this? Don't you realize that? That's really not a respectful way to do it. You want the dreamer to come to the realization themselves. But, you might help them along with some questions. And often we'd go around the room, well, is there anything else that a key does? Can you think of a key in another situation? And I mean, it would be like pulling teeth trying to get a person to say or to even realize that, oh, a key opens something too. So then you can see, obviously, that person would have a blind spot in some certain area, and the other events of the dream would be probably clues to what that is. So it's really funny. It's really quite funny when that happens. Okay, so I want to turn to a comment Corinne wrote the other night after watching the first video on starting a dream journal. She says, so I had a dream the other night, and in it a black ladybug fell on me. I remember nothing else of the dream, but when it happened, I vividly recall telling myself to remember the black ladybug when I wake, because she has meaning. Well, bravo, Corinne, because obviously you took to heart what was in the original video to begin journaling and to begin remembering. And how interesting that even in your dream, you were remembering to make note of this when you woke up. So that's a little bit of lucid dreaming, and we can talk about that at some point as well. But I just want to address the symbolism of the ladybug. Now, again, most of us have seen ladybugs. We've even seen cartoon ladybugs or had them embroidered on our little dresses when we were young. So we have an understanding of what a ladybug is, but what is our personal association with a ladybug? Maybe your house is infested with them or had been at one time, or maybe you're doing the embroidery on a little dress for a child, and you're embroidering a ladybug, or making some jewelry in the shape of a ladybug. There's so many personal associations that it could be. However, do not overlook the possibility that the dream maker, the dream giver, is using wordplay. Is there a lady in your waking life, maybe, who is bugging you? Did something fall on you? Did something, some responsibility fall on you that maybe is bugging you? So there's different ways to play with this. And these are questions that you really just want to ask yourself. And it's not up to anyone else to tell you this dream means this, this, and this. Not even a dream book. Don't rely on that, because it's just too formulaic, and there's not enough nuance in that. If you want, though, you can research. You could look up in Wikipedia or online, what is a ladybug? And there might be some, or what is a giraffe, or what is whatever this image in your dream was. There might be some real waking life details about this image that you weren't aware of, that maybe the dream, if you really pay attention and really want to dialogue with your subconscious, it can get to be a game, and you can find out certain things that maybe you hadn't known. Same is true if you dream of if you dream of a name, and it could be a name you never heard before, but you wake up really clearly remembering this name, and the person who had this name in this dream seemed very important. Google the name. It might lead to something unexpected. That certainly has happened with me. Just another note from my personal life, and I tell you these things from my dreams just to give you examples, and hopefully maybe sharing some of my stuff will help you, because dreams can also go beyond the mundane. There can be some real, esoteric stuff going on there. The first book I wrote was a compilation of my grandfather's World War I letters. And these letters were from training camp right till when he was killed at Vimy. And in the interim, he wrote these letters, of course, to my grandmother. And every now and then he would send her a souvenir of a battle. They used to make little pins and you could purchase them and send them home to your sweetheart. And anytime he did that, he would tell her it was coming in the mail, and he would also draw a picture of it. He also drew a picture of being in the trenches, and he sketched his experiences. Now, there came a point in reading and transcribing and compiling these letters for publication that he had purchased a pin for my grandmother, and the pin was in the shape of a cannon. Now, up until this point, while I was, preparing the book, I really wasn't 100% sold on making it public. I didn't know how Harry would have felt about that, and that did bother me. But one morning I awoke and I had a dream about a cannon. And this was at a period in my life when I was regularly recording my dreams and sketching them. And I thought, well, I'll have to draw this cannon because it figured very powerfully in my dream. And when I went to draw the cannon, now I tried several times to draw this cannon, but try it yourself. You're going to find that it's not going to look like a cannon. I mean, it just looked like something phallic, okay? So I just kind of chuckled to myself. And then I went about my daily business. Now, my daily business every morning was to begin working on the book again. And I would pull letters in my grandfather's handwriting from this beautiful blue velvet box that my grandmother had kept all the letters in. I would just pull the next letter, put it where it belonged chronologically, and transcribe the letter. And in this particular letter, the morning after I'd had the dream, he had told my grandmother that he'd purchased a pin for her. It was a cannon. And he said, but I can't draw it. I cannot draw this cannon. And for me, that just kind of gave me a shiver. The timing of it was incredible. And I felt like over space and time of, well, almost 100 years at that time, like we shared a joke. And it was a really great experience. And I also felt that he was giving me permission to publish the book, which of course I did. And so the rest is history. So I encourage you with that. I just want to say a word about another comment that was made to me. Now, this was a dreamer who dreamed about a phone number and told herself in the dream, and this was just this past week after starting to watch these videos, that she had to remember that phone number. She had to remember that phone number. And, that was complete with the area code. And she managed to remember all 9 digits. And I thought that was interesting as well. And it's almost, I wouldn't say it's lucid dreaming, that experience, but it certainly verges on the point of making this contract, almost this compact between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, that you're going to honor your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind begins to honor that contract again. So I wish you all sweet dreams. Don't be afraid if you're having some nightmares. Those are really interesting and can be a gift. That's a whole other thing. But in the meantime, keep journaling and let me know what you're finding out or what your questions are. And, we'll be very respectful. We don't want to invade anyone's privacy here. And this is just for entertainment purposes. We're talking generalities, although I'll be specific about things that, I'm learning from my dreams. And maybe you'll have some insights for me as well about the things I'm puzzled by. Anyway, this is a safe space. Stay well and keep journaling those dreams. Bye.